Good morning and
Good
welcome
morning,
to
everyone.
Breakthrough Academy live here from Melbourne, Australia. If you don't know me, my name is Jay. I'm one of the team members here at Breakthrough Church, and it is my honour to welcome you to Breakthrough Academy, our Bible teaching program here, which we run every Friday morning, where our goal is not just to learn about the Bible and learn about the Word of God, but to dive deep into it so we can study it and learn about how we can approach the Bible, how we can approach these scriptures, so we can let it build us mountain-moving faith, and we can learn about the cultures of it, we can learn about the history of it, how it was written, so that we can take those lessons, not just learn them, but we can take those lessons and apply it in our own studies, in our own life. And we do that every week, as always, with my good friend Josh Dobie.
Hello, everybody.
And our senior pastor, Pastor Peter Lewis.
Hey everybody, and yeah, it's a pleasure. I love the fact you guys have got your big boy Bibles. Often this generation it says phones, and I use phones because of all the
Big boy Bibles. I've got the 4-in-1.
He's got 4 Bibles.
This was
but that's part of, when we're studying, we just want to be able to see and divide up, and it also shows the hunger you guys have got to really learn. And what we're trying to do is not just learn what the book says, to like the book of Revelation we're studying, but learn how we learn that. Because we're not going to be able to teach everything, and learning is a lifelong experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if we can put the foundations in place, you can just learn a little bit, but then over your lifetime you'll keep building on it and growing because you've understood how it's been brought to you, as opposed to someone just spoon feeding you and say, the beast is this person.
This is what this says.
If it's spoon,
Donald Trump is the beast, things like that. Well, that's not a spoiler.
No.
People are like, what? There's a catch.
Exactly. I'll chop that up.
Someone was waiting for
I'll
that.
chop that up for the socials.
Yeah, and but my aim is to show you how to approach this, so that when you go to any book of the Bible or are studying Revelation in the future, you're going to it with the right attitude that enables it to speak back to you, and that's one of the things I think many people have seen Revelation as an amazing book, but very difficult to understand. And then there are people that say, I got it. Yeah, I know how to understand it.
I figured it out, Pastor.
I figured it out. I've worked out the secret code, because it's got this. Whoever can work out this code 666. People think the whole book of Revelation is like secret code, and they're working it all out.
Telling us last week wrote a book in 1988. Called 88 Reasons Why Jesus is Returning in 1988, based on the Book of Revelation. And that book sold very, very well in 1988. And not so well in 1989, and worse again in 1990.
And there was a lot of stuff in Revelation, the 3.5 years, and then back to Daniel. There's lots of just numbers and numbers.
He figured it all out.
Figured it all out. He was the only one.
That's when you need to know you've heard the Lord when you give a prophecy with an expiration date.
Yeah.
I'm glad he made a profit off it.
Well,
exactly.
Can I say
the prophet made a profit?
When I see people talking nonsense, and I remember I was in America about 30 years ago, and there was a preacher came on, and he had been a well-known preacher, but he'd just gone off, totally off the rails. But he was still preaching the Bible. He was sitting on the stage, drinking whiskey and smoking a cigar, whilst talking about Bible passages that were probably not appropriate for public things. He was like, he just loved and finding those really weird, unusual passages and talking about them, and just doing really weird applications, and you have dancing girls come on and sing the song. And I think, excuse the language, because it's actually I'm just telling you how offensive and terrible it was. There's an ant called a piss ant in America, and he had the girl singing "Kill a piss ant for Jesus today," and it was like just weird. Now, okay, all right, people do go off the rails and they go weird and they do weird teaching. There's I get emails enough to know that they're still out there. But the fact that he was on television showed that he was funded. And the fact that he was speaking to a full auditorium showed that people would come and listen, and that was what really upset me. Not the fact that he was weird, the fact that people were embracing it and doing it. And the 88 Reasons, you can write a book like that, you're weird. The fact that he had so many people sort of wanting to listen to it showed that there was gullible people there embracing it. And then the only reason they knew that it was wrong was because 1989 came. And
exactly.
no other way. It's like, oh, anyone who speaks boldly and certainty. So the Book of Revelation is very open to people using it because it's very hard to disprove them in one sense. You know what I mean?
By the time you can disprove me, I'm wrong about if I make a prediction about end times that are wrong.
Yeah.
By the time you can disprove me, it's not really an issue. We're all gone.
Yeah.
It's like if I get the prediction wrong, you can't. There's no time for you to send the book back.
Yeah, hey, Jay, Armageddon was literal. Too late. At that time.
Whoopsies.
But But that's why the Book of Revelation is probably one of the more difficult. I don't want to say most, but one of the more difficult Bible passages to deal with. And so, as always, we don't want to take the approach, well, it's difficult. Just put that on the shelf. Eventually, you've got to take it off the shelf and know how to do it. Not because, okay, I've got to become smart in this area. Okay, someone asked me a question, I've got to be able to answer intelligently about the end times. But because there's actually truth in there, and if we learn how to approach it the right way, we get what God was saying and why he was saying it. It's interesting to me that the book of Revelation was not given, as we said last week, from chapter 4 onwards, which is a revelation of heaven. It starts with a revelation to the churches. And as I was thinking about it, it wasn't given directly to the churches. It was given to 7 angels to the 7 lampstands, and the 7 angels, the messengers. It could actually be to the 7 angelic beings who are assigned to each of those. But I find that difficult because how do they convey it?
Yeah.
All right. God gives out.
Even if it goes to the angel, it's still going to the church through people.
How does it get from the angel to the people? All right, and sort of and it says this is to the messenger of the church, and so we take that understanding the word angelos, it means messenger, and because it doesn't say heavenly messenger. If you have a look at Galatians chapter 2, I think we have talked about this, but I just feel to.
No, we can.
Look at Galatians chapter 1. So
okay, here's a bit of old school church trivia for some of you. So this is for anyone who's grown up in Sunday school and stuff. Yeah. How many of you, if you grew up in Sunday school, when you approach the Bible and you need to find a Bible verse, do you still read the books? Do you still sing to yourself the books of the Bible song? Because I could not tell you where any book of the Bible is. Not any book. I can find.
Where's Revelation?
I can find Genesis. I can find Revelation. I can find the Gospels. I'm not to that point. Yeah. But if you ask me to find one of the prophets in the Old Testament, I can find Exodus. If you ask me to find one of the Old Testament prophets or any of Paul's letters, it's actually a Acts, Romans 1 and 2, Corinthians, Galatians. There we are.
Yeah,
I think it's.
And anyone who sneers at you, let's look at the minor prophets.
Yes, exactly.
Who are the minor prophets?
That's when I regret not learning the lyrics quite well enough and just
So Galatians chapter 1. So the word angelos just means messenger, and they only had one word for a messenger that was from heaven or a messenger that was a natural messenger. And so if they're referring to an angel from heaven, they just call him an angelos. And then in English we said, oh, that's a great idea. We have a word for messenger. But for the word for a heavenly angelic, what we call angelic messenger, we'll give them that name, angelos, which is just Greek for messenger.
What's the word we use, or the example we use all the time is sushi? That's the one where it's like sushi is a
Japanese word.
Japanese word meaning, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it means raw fish.
Something like that.
Someone Google.
Yeah, that's all right. What
does the word sushi mean in Japanese? Thanks, Siri.
That's pronunciation in Japanese.
No, I think it means raw fish or fish with rice or something like that. It's like either raw fish with rice, and the white man has been like, that's a wonderful phrase for that little hand roll that we get with avocado and prawn. But so when we say sushi, if they say sushi, but sushi also to them means, if you were ordering a sushi roll, it would also be called sushi sort of thing. It would be called a sushi hand roll or something like that, or sushi is that. But if we're saying sushi, we're not meaning raw fish. Sushi is just the direct translate.
Yeah.
I take it that's sort of a similar concept for...
Similar thing. Yeah, like it's like...
when they said angelos, they could have been talking about heavenly messenger, or they just meant messenger.
It was just their word for messenger.
We have
transliterated
it straight into...
We made it an English word.
Made it an English word, meaning...
So we haven't... that we do have a translation for messenger, but
we don't call them heavenly messengers, we call them angels.
Exactly. So we don't need to... we have made that definition, determination which one is which. So sometimes in the Bible when it talks about it, it won't give the context, but in Galatians 1:8, Paul does give the context. He says, even though we or an angel from heaven. So why does he say from heaven? Because he's literally saying, a messenger from heaven.
Yeah.
And he's, so we know that's, we know we've got a word for that, angel.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like angel from heaven is, the from heaven's unnecessary for us.
Yeah.
Because by saying angel, we've already identified where that messenger's from.
Yeah.
So to them, it's either a messenger or to us, a messenger from heaven for us is an angel. So when Jesus says the 5 messengers, not angels, he's angelos, the 5 angelos, is it a messenger that is given to the church, or is it a heavenly messenger? And you can't necessarily tell just from the word, because the word, in the rest of Revelation, we'll talk about angeloses, and that's obviously talking about heavenly messengers.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm saying is it was not given directly to the people of the church, but it was given through a messenger, a representative. Now, was that the angel? And it's like, okay, what does the angel do with it? Because he can't, he can't sort of speak to the people. But if it was given to someone who is the designated messenger for that group of people, that church, so what we would call the senior pastor or the lead elder, which is, or probably the biblical term for it is the preaching elder. I can't go into that, but it's eldership would be over, and there'd be one elder that would have the preaching sort of responsibilities, and that's the one that has the most influence. So it could be give this to the preaching elder, and it's his responsibility to get it to the church. But the thing I want us to note, it was given to 7 particular churches, 7 speaking of fullness and completeness, but it was given to 7 churches, not to the Christians.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't given to Christians. It was given to, now or as Christians, we say, well, that's us. We're part of the church.
Yeah.
But it was given not just to the believers, but to 7 actual churches that had a angelos and that had things going on. It was speaking to them. The relevance for me to that is what's happening in the book of Revelation is best worked out in a church setting. All right? Do you know what I mean? It's relevant to churches, not just to Christians.
That's good. That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not just a Christian. If I read the book of Revelation and I get something for me, that's good. The same as I read the book of Galatians and I get something for me.
That's good.
But originally it was written to a church situation going through a church struggle. And I'm now piggybacking on that and getting it for me.
Yeah.
But by removing that, and most people just read Revelation from chapter 4 on in terms of what the revelation is, not understanding it came to 7 actual churches, and there was individual messages to each of those 7, and then it was up to here to the revelation to them. So the better we understand where those churches were at, we understand why the book of Revelation was so important. But before we dive into the churches, we're taking a step back and we're saying, okay, the method and the style that was written to them was taken from Revelation chapter 1, verse 1, and we just touched on this last week, the revelation of Jesus Christ. Now, if we want to look at that word, revelation, and you love this word. Do you remember what it was?
Apocalypso.
It's a calypso.
Calypso.
The apocalypso.
I like I know the word.
I knew it was
saying something else.
I knew it was a lolly.
Yeah.
The apocalypso. We were supposed to have calypsos today. Dang it.
All right.
No,
So up here, let's see if we can put up apocalypsis.
Apocalypsis.
Yeah, and it says it's from 2 parts. All right. Apo, if I can say
And calypso.
apo means from,
Yep.
and calypsis,
Means
which means to,
Isopole.
well, it's covering.
Okay.
Okay.
Isopole covering.
Well, let me just pull that because we calypto, to envelop, to wrap around as like the bark, skin, shell, or plaster to cover over.
Yeah.
So it's like to put a veil over something like that.
Yeah.
Apo means from, so it means
To remove the veil.
you put it. You've got a covering over
Take the
something.
veil from.
Yeah, to take the covering from, to take the veil from, to unveil,
Yeah.
to reveal.
Yeah.
Think about revelation.
Reveal.
Okay. I wonder where the reveal comes from. The veil, the word veil.
Ah,
I don't
to
know.
remove the veil, so reveal.
Reveal.
Can we go on a sideways trip?
I'm not happy to.
Let's
So next, can we check if the meat, the veal, comes from the same thing?
Okay, so what I want here is I will go to my Auntie
Python.
the ontological meaning. No, where's my?
While you're doing that, I just realised we haven't said good morning to
Good
all of our
morning to
viewers.
everyone, that's very
Joe,
true.
Rose, Sheba, glad you guys are here. Judith,
Good morning
so
from
glad
Frankston.
you're here. Yes.
Oh boy.
Welcome.
Welcome
to you
welcome to
guys.
you all.
I know we welcomed everyone. But
That's
I'm like,
true. And if you're joining us right now, throw us a comment below and let us know where you're joining us from.
I'm sorry, my.
that's all right. Let us know where you're watching from. We always like those. Richard is when he is able to
It
watch.
can be
he's always
anywhere.
he's in Tocumwal or somewhere
I'm
else.
being confused by a series of books I wrote about an insect guy who was an entomologist, which is the study of insects. Etymology is the study of words.
Ah.
And then they're very different.
And they're very different, but very similar spelling. And I'm like, why is my head kicking the other one? All right, so this is the online etymology, not entomology, which would be how those insects are.
It's like when you were saying that, I remember seeing on a TV show, watched a British show called Would I Lie to You? It's like a panel show where celebrities have to get up and tell a story.
Yeah.
And one of the guys said because he spoke French and he was like living in France, and he was translating for a girl who spoke French to the English family. And he got the translation mixed up, and instead of translating that she had a sore throat, he translated that she had a serious heart condition.
Yeah.
So they called an ambulance and she got rushed to hospital under this condition. Then he's like, why did they take her to the hospital for the sore throat? And then he found out later, he's like, no, wrong words.
Yeah, close, but not.
He's like angina and high note or something are the two words.
Yeah.
And he got just that little bit wrong, and he got a lady sent to hospital with his mispronunciation of a word.
Good.
All right, so this looks at the roots of words, all right? Not the definition of words. So this is one of my favourite, Etymon Online. And you just put in the word. It tells you where that root...
Minecraft over there as well.
Okay, and so it doesn't, not the definition, but where it comes from.
Yeah, so reveal, that's what we were.
Yeah, for disclose, divulge, make known. From the old French, reveal, reveler.
Unveil.
From Latin, revelar, literally unveil.
Veil.
From back again, and the opposite of transition to an opposite state, to velar, to cover, to veil.
So revelation is the unveiling.
Yeah, which is what our word apocalypse is, the unveil. It's the unveiling. Reveal is the English equivalent of that.
The revealing.
So the revelation is the apocalypse.
The unveiling, the removal of the veil to.
That's pretty cool.
All right, yeah. So we got it there eventually.
The unveiling.
The unveiling, the revealing, the taking away of the veil. So Jesus, and you'll see there, and it's of Jesus. So it's going to show you Jesus, but of His kingdom and His purposes and plans. So it's the unveiling. Now, apocalypse. If I look for the definition in, let's just.
And I think there's like. Can I quickly just jump in there for a sec?
Yes, you can.
You know when you're saying like it's so important like how we approach Bible verses and stuff like that. You've talked about that so many times in Academy.
Yeah.
And I think with Revelation, one of the really important things is to go back to that people are taking, like, if you were to ask me before our study of Revelation, what is the book of Revelation about? I would have said it's the revealing of the end times and the revealing of that.
Yes.
But when you think it's the revealing of it's the unveiling of Jesus and his kingdom, like, that is a lot less codey. That's a lot less code to breaky. That's more sit back and enjoy and be washed over by the glory of it and be in awe and wonder of who he is and his majesty and the beauty of heaven. Not let's try and figure out exactly what that means, because it's the unveiling of Jesus and his kingdom and his heart, not the unveiling of the end time. And in that, it's the end times are included, but it's not the I would have said it's the revelation of the end times, not the revelation of Jesus, you know?
Yep, exactly. So, and that's a really important distinction. The reason you go there is I'm going to learn about the end times and get some secret insight into it, and I'm going to delve into it.
Because I feel like that's how it's been treated.
And I'm going to be able to give you a timeline. I'm going to be able to recognize that happens then, this will happen next, and this is what I'm looking for, and this possibly, if this has already started. And as I heard, one preacher say, if you find something in Revelation that's already happened, you haven't read it right, because it's all about we're on the edge of it, but it hasn't happened. You know what I mean? So all those things look at it very linear and as a timeline, and it's all about what's revealing the events. And one of the reasons for that is the word apocalypse has taken on its own English word. We use the word apocalypse. That's a Greek word, but it's actually an English word. There's movies called, Apocalypse Now.
Movies like Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner, all those, they're post-apocalyptic.
Post-apocalyptic. Yeah, okay, that's really good. So if you're watching a post-apocalyptic movie, you're watching, or a story, it's after the great destruction.
Yeah.
Some nuclear war or something, or some alien invasion or some meteorite thing has destroyed the Earth. The Earth is absolutely, and all the people that have been sitting in their bunkers, with the cans of baked beans and with the
metal hats.
Tinfoil
hats.
And a can opener. That's I always know that if you're going to go into those bunkers, you always carry a can opener, because there's a lot of stories of people down there and all these cans. I told you to put a can opener here, or the can opener breaks in the first can.
I just need the food.
Yeah, and it's like they're sitting looking at all these cans. So I always if I have a shelter like that, it'll be about 100 can openers and 50 cans.
And no cans. I thought you were getting the cans.
Have a little can opener production facility in your bunker.
Yes.
So, but it's all about this great destruction and the people that can survive through it. And so it's post-apocalyptic. Get on the other side, and we're ready. And the Book of Revelation will give us clues about the apocalypse, so that we can know how to get through and what we need to do. And I'm certainly not going to take the mark of the beast, because that's the number one rule. Whatever you do, don't take the mark of the beast. And it means I can't buy or sell using the system. So it means I've got to hoard up food, and I've got to use non-electronic means, and I've got to go cashless society. I can't use cashless society. I've got to have gold. Because that's and so and apocalypse. So let's just have a look at the definition here. The complete final destruction of the world as described in the biblical book of Revelation. So a lot of people, I go there to read about the apocalypse.
Yeah. The destruction, the end times.
The end times. Or it can just be an event involving the destruction or damage on a catastrophic scale, the apocalypse of World War II. So it's just taking them in that destruction.
Yeah.
And post-apocalypse means the great destruction, and then what happens afterwards, and often there's zombies and stuff like all those things that you sort of people imagine afterwards. And there's a lot of movies about that, and they're just reinforcing a concept that is not meant to be happening in Revelation. All right, they're just seeping in, and they're coming from our culture, so they're not even Bible teaching. So when we come to this, we're just expecting Revelation to be the great apocalypse.
Yeah.
And John says, yes, that's what I wrote, the great unveiling. Oh no, you've written
the great destruction.
The great, what you're showing us is the great destruction and the great, the earthquakes and the plagues and all those things.
Before we blame people of today's society too much, it's like, how could we get it so wrong? How could we misunderstand it? One of my favorite teachings in the Bible, I'm guessing it's in Luke 23 or the end of Luke, when it's like. And my favorite teaching, you talk about it so well. Like, before Jesus came, the church was expecting God to come through, Jesus to come in, wipe out everyone,
Right.
wipe out Rome, come through, reset Israel, set Israel on, as the rulership,
Yeah.
That's what the Jews were expecting, and Jesus comes through and teaches such a transformative gospel, and he teaches love, and he teaches grace, and he teaches these things, and the disciples are there witnessing it and seeing him speaking to the Samaritan woman, all these things that Jesus does. Then he goes to the cross and he dies and he comes back and they're great. So when do we take on Rome? And then so do we do the killing of Rome now?
Yeah.
And it's like they'd seen all of this and like wonderful, love it, Jesus. Now can we do the killing? I feel like that would be that's how like Jesus and John would be seeing us like taking Revelation, reading through all these things. Oh, beautiful, great description. Could you tell us? So are we going to see the world end now? Can we see all those bad people get killed now? Is that?
Yeah. When's the apocalypse? What's the time frame?
Will I be here when the plagues are going?
So exactly when do the plagues come?
Yeah. When is the rapture? Before, after, or in the middle? What's and they're like, huh? You got that from that, and it's it. So what we need to understand is it is actually what is called a genre of writing called apocalyptic. Okay. Now, apocalyptic writing, a lot of people think, well, that talks about end times, Maze Runner or
Hunger Games.
Give
Up. Fifth Wave.
All those.
Name any other of those 18 teen.
Zombie apocalypse. I'm sure. I don't even know if that's a real thing, but I'm sure it's a game or something.
Yeah, Walking Dead.
It's a thing.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, but it is actually a genre of writing. Okay. And it was not just the book of Revelation, it was multiple writings and multiple passages inside the Bible would have this style. So we've got styles of writing, and if you don't know the genre, you can't actually interpret, because you're trying to read it in one way when it's written another. Now, probably the closest writing we have that just follows naturally is an epistle, a writing to a letter. So we understand it's sort of a letter to someone. I get that, because I've written letters, people have written letters to me, the writing of an ancient letter had some different forms, but overall it's pretty similar. Yeah. But there's other things like poetic writings, like in Psalms and Proverbs and wisdom writings and things like that, which are a slightly different form. Now, I can lean into
Poetry,
those.
We've got similar Psalms, we've got song and stuff, which is
But the biggest difference there is if I treat a psalm and the poetic nature of it as if it's a literal rendition that Paul's writing as a letter, or Luke's doing as a historical writing, or in the Old Testament you've got historical writings like 1st and 2nd Samuel. They're doing history.
Yeah.
History. So if I take something that is written in a poem and say, well, that's literal, the hills skip like lambs and stuff like that, and I see this. It's poetic. It's meant to give you a feeling, not meant to give you an accurate thing. Like the poet who says every day someone dies and someone is born. All right. Well, that's not actually literally true. It's like every time one person dies, 1.00037 people are born, because
we got slightly increased.
Yeah, so every time one person dies, it's more than one person is born.
Yeah.
All right. That's how the science and engineer, approaches it. But the
doesn't sound so good in a song.
Yeah, but
every time a man dies, 1.0037 people.
Yeah. It's like he's saying that life is moving and life goes on, and there might be a death, but there's also a birth. That's what. So the poetic thing, I'm not trying to be accurate to a literal sense. I'm trying to express feeling. So if you approach a poet, and some people say, okay, how do I approach different parts of the Bible? Well, one of the things is to make sure you understand the genre of the writing. Now, a poem or a song can actually be inside other things, like historical writings. You'll actually have David's song or a psalm.
When we studied a while ago, where there's the verses, there's like an 8-verse little song in it. What was that?
Oh, it's it'd be in Timothy, I think.
In Timothy, that's right.
Or Titus, maybe Titus. There's actually a song there.
Yeah, and you can. I remember you telling us a little fun fact with it. You can tell in some Bibles, not ours, but this Bible here, I think, which Joe Rose lent us, in Titus. If I can find Titus.
going.
Keep going. Because...
After Timothy.
Oh, no, is it that one in second?
Oh, it might be 2 Timothy.
Yeah, in 2 Timothy, I think it is. Unless there's another one in Titus as well. No, it's in 2 Timothy. You can see on here, I'm going to hold the Bible up closer. The way they format it is completely different. So, hang on.
Yeah, there it is. So it's like a little...
You're going to focus with your Bible? There we are. You can see it's formatted differently where... Because it splits it by line. Because it splits it line by line. Whereas all the other verses... So you can tell it's a song. Whereas in our Bibles, it's different because it already splits it verse by verse, so it's very hard to tell the difference.
Yeah, so
in little fun fact we studied in academy last year.
So songs can be found all over, and that's why in Genesis chapter 1, people say, well, that's poetic. Well, it's actually written as if it's literal. It's not written as a poem. And and then it goes on as a historic. What happens in Genesis is then it's not just Genesis. It continues, like the creation.
Yeah.
It talks about then Adam and his descendants, and then it goes down to Noah, and then it talks about Abraham. And
it's a lot of things to mention to literally to then be this is descriptive or feeling or poetic.
Yeah.
No, that's very good.
Yeah, it's sort of like, well, it's not meant to. So the idea is to find out what the author intended.
Yeah.
Now there is a style of writing which we often don't talk about in that, and it's called apocalyptic, the unveiling, and this because there's prophetic writing. Okay, understanding prophetic was a little bit like trying to work out, poet and literal. Where does prophetic writing fit in? And there's a lot of that in the Old Testament. Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, all the minor prophets. You've got prophecies given within the context of history.
So prophecies again, like songs, probably even more though. So quoted a lot in the New Testament. Peter in Acts 2 when quotes Joel.
Yeah. So all these things, it's like. So if you don't understand how prophetic writings work, and then the difference between a prophetic writing and apocalyptic. Now, that's what I probably think. I think most people then would look at Revelation and say it's prophetic.
It's not prophetic, it's good.
Yeah.
Prophetic.
So what's the difference between prophetic writing and apocalyptic writing? Because to us, most people just probably blend those the same and say it's a prophecy to the future.
Because prophecy is about the future, and Revelation is just a really, really big prophecy here.
And isn't prophecy revealing the future?
Yeah, and they want, when you read Revelation, or others, certainly not us, others that might read, not you guys either, but when they read Revelation, they read these things, they want it to be prophecy because it's about the future, and I don't want to go through that.
Yes.
All right, so let's just look at the differences between... I'll take the water bottle off. It's probably a bit ugly there in the middle. Whatever generation they are, we need a special grace in our generation to deal with it.
So you should have just moved the water bottle. That was your mistake. Oh, well, I got it.
That's on you, Dad, at that point for saying something.
All right, so let's quickly just have a look at a prophetic. Okay, I'm taking more time with this than you would like in a Sunday sermon.
Yeah.
The reason is...
That's why we're here.
The reason is, if you're going to approach this as an apocalyptic thing, you've got to first of all wash your mind of what your culture will probably feed you.
And one of the things is, again, a lot of these things, they're not conscious decisions we're making, they're very subconscious. I didn't realize I was approaching the book of Revelation as a revealing of the end times.
Yeah.
Until you started talking, and I'm like, that's so different to how I would have approached it. Sometimes we need things like this to help us identify things that are so commonly just accepted in the church, or so commonly accepted in culture and society, that we're going to be doing it whether we think we are or not.
Yeah,
exactly. So
you might be like, I'm not thinking it's a prophecy. Well, you're thinking it's something. Whether you realize it or not, you are thinking it's something, and most likely you might figure out, actually, even if I didn't fully think that, a good part of me thought it was a prophecy.
Okay. So let's scrub our brain as much as we can of what we think of the word apocalypse means. It's not about destruction. It's a style of writing which is unveiling. Now, the difficulty is that, I'm going to now replace that way of thinking with a new way of thinking, and I grab prophecy.
Yeah.
Because that's that's handy, and then I think so. I put prophecy in there. So first of all, let's just show prophecy. It is a style. It is a biblical thing, but how this is not prophecy. All right. And you say, oh, people say it's not prophesying. Yeah. Just anyway. Let's work our way.
I'll back
through.
you on that, Pastor.
Yeah. Let's just.
There's a different.
If anyone asks,
there can be a
I'll tell
difference
them.
between, Paul's writing. There's a difference between, psalm and things can be poetic, and they're not poetry.
Yeah. Exactly. So all right. Let's look at Jeremiah 23.
That's not but that's not going to tell me about the end times.
Yeah.
I didn't know Jeremiah wrote about the apocalypse.
So this has nothing to do with the end times. I'm sorry.
Aha. Jeremiah 23.
Yeah. I just try, and I just did this fairly random. I didn't go so. Well, this is the best one. I just picked one.
Not random because you just picked a verse.
Well,
Dad says open his Bible up. Let's go to Jeremiah 23.
Well, pretty close.
Okay.
Okay. I just flipped through.
You can pick the next one, Jay.
I didn't think I picked my offering sermons. That's a joke. That's a joke for anyone.
I didn't know you did that too.
Today we're gonna read from Joshua 1.
Okay.
Be strong in the offering and in the power of the offering.
All I did was because Jeremiah's got it's a prophetic book. I flipped through and I just said, okay, let's find a passage which looks prophetic.
Yeah.
I reckon it looks pretty good.
Okay, and because it'll contain what you're looking
Jeremiah is.
What you're looking for is a prophet's main purpose was about covenant. They were the ones that were reminding the people, you're in covenant with God, and you've turned away from that covenant, and God is bringing you back. All right, that's their main role as a prophet, is to remind, not to teach them the covenant, but to warn them, to summons them, to challenge them, come back to the prophet, and also to do that in the context of, hey, all this stuff that's happening around you, it's because of the covenant. You've broken covenant, that's why you've been invaded. Yeah. You've broken the covenant, that's why you are in captivity.
And then you keep going, sorry.
Yeah, so covenant, it's in the context of the covenant. And so when we deal with other nations, it's how those nations are they're going their way and they're terrible. But ultimately, and if they're treating Israel badly, or, they'll come in and they'll one of the minor prophets, I think it's like he said, okay, so I raised up Assyria, or I raised up Babylon to come in and judge my people, but they went way further than I intended. Yeah. All right? No, you were extra cruel. There was judgment that the people of Israel had called upon themselves, but you went too far. All right? That's not what I was intending. You went too far, and so now here's your judgment. All right? So it's sort of the context of there's wars and there's battles and the things. And then every now and again they see things like Joel, and he sees things. But then it starts to move into, sometimes outside of a prophecy, into something which is apocalyptic. So let's just look at something which is pretty straightforward prophecy. And you're looking for these things. You're looking for things like, thus says the Lord. Yep. All right? Thus says the Lord.
We know that because that's what we say on the Sunday, no?
Yeah, and it's a prophetic thing. Thus says the Lord. Can you think of that in the book of Revelation?
Says the Lord.
There's the kind of, but not properly. Like there's like he who was and is says to the.
What about those parts where it says, and if you don't, I will remove this from you, the lampstand churches.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say thus saith the Lord.
No, it's a different style of terminology, and often it's the angel told me.
So I've got
I saw this, and an angel gave me a message.
I've got in the first few chapters, to the angel of the church in Ephesus, write the words of him who holds the 7 stars in his right hand. That's another way of saying the word. Yeah. The words of God, or thus saith the Lord. So in different wording, those parts are not prophecy, but they are. It's overlap, but it's not quite. It's not quite the same, but there's that would be the part I would lean into. I would go to if you were asking about that. So if you say in prophecy, you'll hear him say, "Thus says the Lord," and he'll deliver a message like, "Okay, here we are in chapter
woe to the shepherds who are destroying and scattering the sheep of my pasture, declares the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a declare. It's more like it doesn't have the authority.
Verse 2. Therefore, thus says the Lord God of Israel. The end of that verse declares the Lord. End of verse 4 declares the Lord. Verse 5. Behold, the days are coming. Declares the Lord.
Yeah.
The Lord declares the Lord. Verse 7. So it's sort of a number of times. It's
a lot stronger in this.
That's the method of thing, whereas other than saying here's the words of the Lord, and you do the difference is in the apocalyptic you're often taken somewhere and shown something, and you're seeing a vision, you see a sign, you see symbols, and out of that you are told to go and say something to the people. Or so that's why the 7 churches, he was lifted up. He was shown Jesus with 7 stars and 7 lampstands and this and that, and then he says, "Now go give this to the 7 churches." Do you know what I mean? It's out of that, as opposed to someone saying, "Hey, the Lord spoke to me. Thus says the Lord."
Yeah,
you got this heavenly vision, and out of that comes a message. Yeah. And in the book of Revelation, you often have things like, the angel showed me, and the angel said, "Come up here," and the angel said, "Let me take it." And the angel says, "Do you understand that?" And he says, "No, I don't." He said, "The angel said this." So it's got a different feel to it. It's a heavenly revealing, and there's a lot of angels and there's a lot of messengers sharing stuff. And I might hear stuff that comes from the throne, and I share that. But I'm sharing it as something like I've overheard this or I've seen this, and now I'm telling you about it. Okay, as opposed to a prophetic word, which is the Lord impresses me with something and gives me a word, and I speak on behalf of the Lord and say, "Thus says the Lord" to you.
Yeah.
All right. So prophetic has a lot more of that sort of style. Apocalyptic is I've seen something, have something, a veil pulled back, and I'm now telling you about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now one of the differences.
I think it's like there's a I think there's such a key difference there between I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, I'm sort of understanding this example. So see if this makes sense to you. Okay, and I'm sorry if it doesn't. Say we as a our team. Brooke, one of our team, just recently took over the Super Kid team at Breakthrough, which is amazing. I'm so excited for what she's going to do. She's going to do an incredible job. And imagine she had gone to a church somewhere or gone to a kids ministry. She'd flown over to America and she'd gone and seen a kids ministry over there. And it's like, and for an example, I remember years ago we went over to America and we saw the Super Kid Academy in Eagle Mountain, and Caitlin, who was the team leader at the time, coming back and telling everyone, "This is so cool, this is what we've seen." A lot of that stuff we implemented in our stuff because we'd seen it and it was really effective and it was so cool. It was a revealing of hey, this is what we've seen, this is really cool. That's totally different to B coming through being hey, I've had this is what we're going to do at Super Kids, and coming I've had this vision, and I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. It's not prophetic, but it's that one is hey, I've seen this, and it's just telling you what we've seen. And yes, things like that will be implemented, and we will take it up. But there's another part where it's hey, I'm telling you now in authority, this is what's going to happen. This is the future. That's different to you getting up on a Sunday and be this is what's going to happen at Breakthrough for the next 12 months. We're doing this. These are the things. We've got these events planned, and it's that. There's more of an authority. It's this is the things to come. I'm telling you. You know? There's a difference between the revealing and that authority. Yeah.
I think so. There's probably more authority in this unveiling because it's God has unveiled it.
Exactly.
So
it's not just the unveiling. I'm saying it's not. There's a difference between unveiling versus that authoritative sort of this is what I'm telling you, the things
And like I said, let's not make black and white too hard. There is going to be overlap because prophetic. But what we're saying is it's a specific style of writing, and it deals with and this is what the reader understood this style and knew it as a style. That's probably one of the keys.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not looking at it as if we get this writing where
That's good, that's
what
good.
is this strange writing? Then they say, oh, this is apocalyptic writing.
Yeah.
Because they've studied it and they've studied the passages in the Bible. They also have a number of different writings within the New Testament period which were apocalyptic in style. It was a style of communicating and showing things. So when they're reading the book of Revelation, they immediately know what category to put it in and how to, and not just say, oh, intellectually, that's that category. Do you know what I mean? No. They know how to say, oh, this is what I'm getting, this is how to understand it, and this is how to read it. So because they're familiar with it, they know what to do with it straight away. And they know they know what not to do with it. Do you know what I mean? That's one of the keys. If you take it to Revelation, exactly what we've done, they know not to make it a linear time frame.
Yeah.
Because why would we think it's a linear time frame? That's never what we're expecting.
Yeah,
I don't expect to be given a calendar series of events that flow one on for the other. I'm expecting, and what are they expecting? That's what we've got to try and catch a little bit. What are they expecting to see? Because that's what they're looking for, and they're not looking for the Western mindset. And to be honest, my Western mindset tends to be offended by apocalyptic writing because I find it so vague and so weird. And so, I like stories about people when they go to heaven where they can talk about it. Actually, it's a literal thing. They say they saw this and they walked here and they talked to this person. I understand that, and they tell, and then I went here and then I went there. I'm like, I get that because that follows the narration that I'm expecting. So when someone tells me about heaven and heavenly events, to do it in this format is like. I can't make sense of it. I can't lock in. I don't know what to do with it. It's all weird. The lamb comes and he's got 7 eyes. I'm like, oh, it's like a mutated lamb. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's this happens and why does this happen? Oh, what is happening here?
If that was said and it wasn't in the Bible, you'd be like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of stuff that if someone came and told me that and it's not in the Bible, I'd say.
But it's in the Bible, so like.
Yeah,
great.
well done.
I think there's a point as well as like, I think what you're saying is so true, and also like, I think one of the other things is like, even beyond your Western mindset, particularly for you, you have such a gifting and skill as a teacher.
Yeah, I want the logical progression.
You want a logical progression. Like you think, okay, what you talked about this the other day. If you're wanting to relax, what is it you do? You'll do a maths puzzle.
Yeah.
What is maths? Maths is a very logical start to end. You do it.
Yeah.
You can't do maths. You can't do a maths equation in any order. You can't just pick which part you want to do. The order you do it in is just as important because it's the logical progression. And I think as the teacher brain, I think we growing up in Breakthrough, we've caught that heart, and so many of us like love that teaching. It's like, so I think for a lot of us, it can be that same. We're so used to the logical, progressional teaching style of biblical understanding. So going into something like this, which is so vague and, as you said, mixed up, can feel jarring and can feel wrong almost at that point.
And you see how people then use the mixture of it to create all sorts of doctrines and preaching, and I'm like, well, that doesn't even make sense. That's not even, and so they've used this mishmash to create their own, and it's like, I can't even disprove it because it's...
And the worst thing we can do is then try to approach it as if it is just regular teaching and being like, well, that's how I like it, so I'm going to approach it as if it's the same.
So one of the things I've got to do is not just say, well, okay, this is what it is, but also understand this is a chosen style that God uses. Yeah. So the offense that I have at it from my perspective, I've got to get over, and I've got to learn to embrace it. Yeah. Because it's actually... It is God's chosen style. It's not like, okay, I'll put up with it. I'll sit there. I've got to actually say no. I've got to actually embrace it, which is a bit humbling, and it means I've got to look at it and I've got to catch it. But the same as I did with 1 John, when I found that was very offensive to my style of teaching. John does things, with the corkscrew, and I'm trying to do up the steps. But when I said, the key for me came when I realized John was closer to Jesus than any of the other disciples, and Jesus must have liked them. And if this is the style that Jesus really got on well with, maybe he wouldn't get on well with me. Yeah. You know what I mean? He says, "Yeah, you're a bit weird. I like that corkscrew guy. He gets me." And I'm like, "Oh, I thought you really liked my style." So I'm like, okay, if I've got to not just to tolerate it, I've got to learn to love it. And I've got to learn to love apocalyptic and to work with that. And so that's part of the washing, is to explain. So when we look, so we hear and we say, thus declares, so I can't go back and get prophetic. I've got to learn apocalyptic. So I'm just teaching you, first of all, prophetic will have a lot of thus says the Lord, and it'll be speaking to the now, and it'll be speaking to this situation. So this one here, so I just picked a random passage just to see these sorts of concepts. It says, therefore, thus says the Lord God, Israel, concerning the shepherds who are tending my people, you have scattered my flock. He is speaking to the false lead, or the leaders that are not handling appropriately the people of God. He's using some symbolic terminology. Shepherds, flock. He doesn't say the leaders and the people. So he uses, but it's not far removed. It's not difficult to work out what he's talking about.
No, exactly.
All right. So prophetic messages do use imagery, but often the imagery is not that far, or it's explained, or it's given. You know, like, I've got a plumb line, and this is this, and that's talking about this, and this is talking about that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, oh, okay, prophetic. He doesn't need to explain who the shepherds are. He doesn't explain who the flock is, because it's pretty obvious. All right. So any imagery is defined, and it's understood.
Exactly. It's like concerning the shepherds tending my people, and it's like, okay, well, if they're tending my people, they're obviously the leaders. It's pretty, like, it's not a big jump to make, you know.
Yeah. I'm about to tend to you for the evil of your deed. So it's bringing them to an account for what they are doing. Then I myself shall gather the remnant of the flock out of all the countries where I've driven them. So I understand what he's talking about. It's the restoring of the children of Israel. It talks about a future event, but it's sort of talking about it in a short term, thing like that. So prophetic covers. So that's the danger. I'm saying it covers some of the same things, but just be aware, prophetic isn't apocalyptic. It's a little bit. I will also raise up shepherds over them; they'll tend them. So he's speaking to the future, what he's going to do, but it's sort of clear. It's you're not trying to have to work out what is the shepherd, what is the staff. You know? Sometimes it does. You know, like I'll break the staff in two, and then they'll be joined together. And I've had, like the Mormon teaching is, those two staffs coming together, the Old Testament, the Bible and the whatever their Bible, John Smith, whatever. He found some tablets in a cave or something, and that's the restoration. I'm like, well, that's not what I would have got out of that,
Good for you.
Yeah. So sometimes people can, use that for all sorts of things. When I shall raise up for David a righteous branch. Okay, so this is the Messiah. So it's stretching, it's moving, but do you understand? It feels contained, and it's to the people, and the people would receive that message and understand it.
Yeah.
Now let's compare that with, say, Ezekiel chapter 1. Now it came about in the 30th year, on the 5th day of the 4th month, so that's very clear, while I was by the river Chebar among the exiles, the heavens were open and I saw visions of God. There's going to be a lot of, you're going to hear John in this.
Ezekiel chapter 1.
Yeah, it's going to say, I was here doing this, and then suddenly I was in the Spirit, in the Lord's day. Do you know what I mean? Sort of, I was here, and then the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. Now, do you see how that's different to prophetic? I'm seeing things in the heavens, and I've been given visions. And on the 5th month, in the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's exile, the word of the Lord came expressly to Ezekiel the priest, son of Buzi, the land of the Chaldeans by the river Chebar, and therefore the hand of the Lord came upon him. It's good. And as I looked, behold, a storm wind was coming from the north, a great cloud with fire flashing forth continually, and a bright light around it, and in its midst something like a glowing metal in the midst of the fire. Can you straight away see this is more like what the Revelation.
Yeah.
I'm seeing stuff. I see a wind, and I see it coming, and it says a storm wind as coming from the north. Now, and straight away, the person writing this and the people reading it say, okay, north is not going to just be a literal north. It's going to represent what north represents. And if I don't know what north represents, then I get a little bit confused straight away. What does wind represent? What was the four represent? And within there were figures resembling 4 living beings, and this was their appearance. They had a human form. Each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. And their legs were straight, and their feet were like a calf's hoof, and they were gleamed like burnished bronze. First thing you note is like the word like.
Yeah.
Like.
That's what John was.
Yeah, like. And under their wings on their four sides were human hands. And as for the faces and wings of four of them, their wings touched one another. The faces did not turn when they moved. Each went straight for. Can you see? This is different to a prophecy. This is apocalyptic, which means that things have been pulled back and revealed in the heavenly. So I'm going to give you some stuff to say. Well, what are we looking for?
Yeah.
Now, the first thing, often people say, well, apocalyptic is you're going to look at the end times. You're going to look at, and it does often encompass the bigger picture and the end times. Revelation does cover the end times. But what it's just really doing is opening up the heavens and seeing things from a heavenly perspective. What is happening in the heavens? The big picture, the big fight, the big players in this. What's happening here? Who's going where? And then it'll sort of overlap into the earth.
Yeah.
All right. That's really the power of apocalyptic is. Let's have a look in the heavens, and then we'll see stuff in the heavens, and that will have relevance to what's happening in the earth, both now and before and in the future. Now the trouble is when we get into the heavens, this is my speaking, in the heavens that whole time frame thing gets a little bit messed up, you know what I mean? Because we're looking outside of the earth, we're looking into the heavens, and the things that we see there are so, they say, how can we describe this? And so they'll use great imagery, and they'll talk about the angels, and they're like a face of a man. No, he had 4 arms, like feet like a calf. No, he had hands like a human. He had and at that point, I'm like, I don't understand. Because this has gone beyond. So the idea is for me not to get straight away bogged down into the detail, but to catch the message and try and hear what they're saying and what they're doing.
You mean you don't understand verse 10? As to the likeness of their faces, each had a human face. The four had the face of a lion on the right side, the four had the face of an ox on the left side, and the four had the face of an eagle.
Yeah.
You mean that you can't see? Oh, I didn't realize you can't. Oh, is that? Do you find that? That was easy, wasn't it?
Yeah,
You understand what's going on there.
I know what it meant. Yeah.
When they've got 2 wings covering their face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's just that's Bible teaching 101.
That obviously represents the thing.
Yeah.
That obviously represents. Oh, we're out of time. Next Friday, Pastor's going to take us through exactly what that one.
We're going to write a book on this.
So what
27 reasons.
What you're looking for is a big picture of what's happening in the heavens and trying to get a picture of that, and it will reflect on earth. Sometimes that will move into the end time conflict. Sometimes it'll touch on the great fight that's happening in the heavens, or has happened in the heavens and will happen in the heavens, things like that. But other times I'm just seeing the glory of God in the heavens. It's like, Revelation chapter 4, it's not the end time, but I see the glory of the throne room. Chapter 5, I see the wonder. So I don't always look for the battle, but it's often not far away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's often a sense of apocalyptic writing takes you sometimes the despair, the victory, so you're riding the waves and up and down, and I think the best way, and this is my description, is the John corkscrew. Do you know what I mean? See things as a moving around, but then we move a little bit higher and a little bit more focused.
Yeah.
But in the sense of move around, we'll just grab that on the way through, and we'll grab that on the way through, and we'll grab that. So it's not a nice, neat, even that doesn't follow my nice, neat, okay, if I understand the steps, okay, I'll work on a corkscrew, but it's not like the corkscrew that, but as we're moving, and so the book...
It's like a wave pool, where it's like you're going up and down, it's like moving around, getting here.
But with an ocean current taking me somewhere and moving, and so...
It's doing that one, but I feel like it's also one where it's like, okay, at when you go to the ocean and stuff, it's obviously it can be, there's 2 people when you get to the ocean, and if anyone's ever been particularly a surf beach or a really choppy beach, you get down out of the in Melbourne, not in the not in the Bay Area. If you get out to the open sea area, it is genuinely, some people find it terrifying, but I find it one of the funnest things is when you go there and there's big waves and you just sort of you get to a point where your feet will be able to stand eventually, but it's when a wave comes, I'm not going to be able to stand right now. I'm just going to be taken up by the wave, and then I'll come back down, and then up with the wave and down, and back in and up and down. And actually, when you actually when you stop trying to fight it and trying to stay still, and it's so annoying if I'm trying to walk from here 100 meters that way, those waves are really annoying because I'm trying to make a straight line and get there as clearly and as quickly as possible, and I've got a place I want to be, and I'm trying to get there efficiently. It's really frustrating. Or if I'm trying to stand still and I'm just trying to survive, it's really annoying.
It would be.
If you say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to embrace this and I'm going to get amongst it. It is such a fun, and it can be genuine. And I feel like that's the same with Revelations. Like, we just say, you know what? I'm just going to get in the swing of this thing. If I'm trying to control it and come back with me, and I'm trying to get to this point where I understand this and just stay with me.
I'm trying to get it in my chart, and I'm trying to make it all literal sense.
Yeah.
And no. Just go with the flow. But when you're going with the flow, try and pick up the movements and what's trying to happen. And that's the thing. It's like there's stuff happening here, and I don't understand it all, but I do. Don't get too much. And this is my danger. Is like, well, this is just weird. Shut down.
No.
Just let it all flow over me. I've still got to be trying to engage with it, but I'm engaging with it. It's apocalyptic. It's meant to be like this. That's okay. It's an unveiling of something. I'm seeing something. So what is he seeing? So without getting too bogged down in the detail, what is he seeing? Yeah. What is he seeing here? Like, and because I could have said, what is the bull? What are okay, he's seeing magnificent creatures, multifaceted. Yeah. He's seeing stuff happening here, and they went, and each went straight forward. Wherever the Spirit was about to go, they would go without turning as they went. Some people have said this is UFOs, the wheel within the wheel and stuff like that.
Yeah. I see that now. Good job. Thanks, Pastor.
Well, no, I discovered that at the newsagents in Yarrawonga when I was a teenager, looking down. It says, UFOs in the Bible on in front of a magazine. I'm like,
okay,
whoa, hello. And Ezekiel, I was like, and he's having visions, and he's thinking, okay, it sounds like UFO things. And so, in the midst of the living beings, there was something that looked like burning coals of fire, like torches darting back and forth among the living beings. The fire was bright, and lightning was flashing from the fire, and the living beings ran to and fro like bolts of lightning. Now, as I looked at the living beings, behold, there was one wheel on the earth beside the living beings for each of the four of them.
That's UFOs.
The appearance of the wheels and the workmanship was like sparkling beryl, light, and all four of them had the same form, their appearance and workmanship being as if one wheel were within another wheel. There's internal wheels and there's outside wheels, and whenever they moved, they moved in any one of their four directions without turning as they moved. So that's like a UFO. Because people talk about UFOs just not
spinning, just
As for the rims, they were lofty and awesome. The rims, all four of them, were full of eyes round about. Whenever the living beings moved, the wheels moved with them. And whenever the living beings rose from the earth, the wheels rose also. Whenever, one last verse. Whenever the Spirit was about to go, they would go in that direction, and the wheels rose close beside them, for the Spirit of the living beings was in the wheels. It's okay that there's movement that's happening, but there's a connection on earth and the living beings. When the living beings are moving, it's moving and moving and moving. And it was Ruth Heflin, a great prophetess, that pointed out, and I remember, it's like, when you're touching heaven, there is a corresponding movement in earth.
Yeah.
And this is one of the great things I believe when praise and worship, you move from just coming in and just entering into thanksgiving and praise, and suddenly it's worship. You're connected, and then you hit that spot of the glory, where you're actually in the presence of God. And if you've been in a meeting, and we've had some of them recently with great meetings, suddenly I am just tangibly so aware of the presence of God and the goodness of God, and I'm just so filled.
That's so true.
I always am aware that one of the things God wants to do is you move into that glory and you touch the wheels within the wheel, the presence and glory, what's happening in heaven, is look for corresponding work on the earth. Let the authority flow back down. Don't just get stuck up in heaven and say, wow, this is amazing. Expect, if I'm moving with God here, what is happening down here? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? When I see the moving of the Spirit up there, what is happening here? And so I always expect that when we get to that point, there will be prophecies flowing, there will be healings flowing, there will be people speaking and seeing things for their world and their family and things like that. You see the glory of God, and all of a sudden it overflows. And I'm always disappointed if people go to a worship meeting just to get that glory, and then we say, let's all go home.
Yeah.
And so, there was an opportunity there to take one more step, which is take the glory and bring and see the corresponding action on earth and how that works. It's not just about getting a picture of Jesus on the throne, it's Jesus on the throne. So you sort of, that's the apocalyptic part. You see all that, but there's a picture of this and how that actually works. It's a little bit weird and strange, but I embrace it and I'm looking to that.
And I think, can I add, do you mind if I add one thing
real
quick? I think, and I talked about this verse last week, and I think even more now, so that's terrible English, but anyways, I think even more now, yes, fourth there, so it's, this is a really good, how important it is with what you're speaking, and it's in Ephesians 6 where it says, finally be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might, put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil, for what we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, and against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in those heavenly places.
Yeah.
And not just that, what's the next verse? Therefore, take up the whole armor of God that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand firm, stand, therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the shoes of peace, the shoes of peace, and trying to go through, remember all the different parts of the shield of faith, the sword of the Spirit, praying at all times in the Spirit with all prayer and supplication to the end, to keep alert with the perseverance, making supplication for all the saints, and also for me that your word may be given to me, it opened all, blah, blah, blah. Not blah, 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 but it continues on. That's a really important verse because that gives Paul, in that verse, in a very Western mindset, in a Western teaching way, gives us a very clear insight into what heaven is like as well, where what I get out of that is beyond, he's like, what you see happening down here is not just happening down here.
Yeah.
In heaven, there it says, against the authorities, the cosmic powers, and the rulers of this present darkness, and the spiritual forces of evil in those heavenly places.
Yeah.
What does that say to me? It says, while we're down here, up there is a war. There is war happening, and there is warfare happening between cosmic powers and between God and evil, and there is fights happening there. So what we're experiencing down here is just a portion of what is going on up there. Yeah. And he's like, when Paul started talking about what happens in heaven and the heavenly places, what was the first thing he said? Put on the armor of God and get ready to battle. Yeah. So it's like, when we read about things that are apocalyptic, it doesn't surprise me that the first thing I see is the first thing I hear when we read that is battles, and there's fights, and we see the war and stuff like that. It's like, it makes sense that it's like, okay, I'm not going to go, it's like, that gives another great understanding of like, when Paul saw heaven, he saw it as a place where battles are happening, and when he stepped in that spirit realm, he saw that heavenly fight. And it's like, we talk about even things like in Ezekiel or Revelation, the fact that when John goes up or Ezekiel sees these things, what do they see? They see battling and they see fighting. I don't think that's coincidental that those are the, and it's like, it gives me a feel of what's going on and what to expect when you go up into those unveilings, as you said,
So part of apocalyptic teaching, but just not the whole purpose, is it's the fact that there is a cosmic fight, there is a cosmic war, but it's not, here we don't have that cosmic war. We just have the glorious beings and animals and the creatures. So also, so a lot of people think it's only going to be about that fight, but it's there, but it's not the central or total, and that's part of the apocalyptic we see in the heavens, and part of that is we're going to see that cosmic war, but we're just going to see the glory, we're going to see the presence of God and the goodness of God. It all sort of flows in, and you can't, you expect it, and that's normal. So the level of symbolism in apocalyptic is very high. A lot of symbolism, whereas in prophetic it's moderate. There's symbols, but it's not to that sort of where everything's got to be sort of defined through. I don't know.
And that's one of the reasons I reckon as well. Like, it's a good feel, when I think people who where is it Paul says that you're trying, like, it's always important to use the Holy Spirit to what's it called, like to not test the spirits, but to, I think he uses, but to see whether something is true or not. What's the word I'm looking for?
Test?
No, but there's another word he uses in one of it. I forget, and and it's like we're not going out looking for false prophets, but like I think anyone who's grown up in a Pentecostal church, or probably any church really, you've seen people who are. One of the things often you can tell is not false people. I'm not even saying they're false prophets, but people who probably love the feeling of giving a prophecy more than they love the receiving of a prophecy necessarily. And one thing you often find, I feel like they can be very symbolic prophecies, and it'll be very, very vague and symbolic.
Nothing you can actually test.
Nothing you can test. Nothing you can nothing
whether you can
nothing you can disprove or test and stuff like that. Like, and that it's probably leaning into that Revelation style, because they're probably seeing Revelation as prophecy and stuff, not seeing it as as you said, there's overlap, but it's like that they'll come in with big symbolic things like that. It's like, okay, that's cool, but those are great visions, and I'm not saying they're not good visions to have, and I want God to work in me in those ways, but that's where it's like people who in their prophecy are always leaning into heavy symbolism. It might be because it's less prophecy, more just vision, but they like giving in.
And I think that's probably leans into the way, while we're skeptical of it, we push it back because people misuse it to their advantage. That they say, well, if I do like apocalyptic style prophecies, you won't be able to tell whether I'm right or wrong. I can look, it's the same as speaking in tongues. You can't judge me, and if I do apocalyptic,
in the church in Corinth, they loved speaking in tongues.
But once you have to speak it and it's clearly sounding, then people can judge it, and you can say, is Jesus being exalted in this or not? And apocalyptic prophecies is a little way of sort of almost speaking in tongues. You can't really interpret it, and that's why Paul's instruction is that's really good, but make them more and more clear sounding, and then you'll be able to know. Do you know what I mean? So if my prophetic words are just always vague, my answer is not to stop them, but is to push them to become more clarity
to a possible future.
To give clarity to what.
We're not Dr. Strange giving one of 17 million timelines.
So
that's not what prophecy is.
So I can sort of listen to them, and I can make a clear judgment. That's God, because I can understand what they're saying, and I know it resonates, and I can pick it apart. All right, so people can use that. I'm just going to read out. So in the Bible, you got like Book of Daniel, chapters 7 to 12, apocalyptic. Ezekiel, you got chapter 1, but also chapters 38 and 39 have these. Okay. Zechariah, chapters 1 to 6, has apocalyptic teaching in it. Even in Jesus' teaching, Matthew 24 and 25 had elements of apocalyptic, of the end times.
Matthew 24, 25, okay.
Yeah,
so you cut to those quickly? I'm very interested in that. I wasn't expecting.
So,
when he's speaking about what the prophet Daniel spoke about, or?
So, the destruction of the temple.
Which verse?
Verse 1. And Jesus came out from the temple, was going away with his disciples, coming to the temple building, and said, do you not see all these things? Truly I say, not one stone here shall be left upon another, which not shall be torn down. Tell us these things, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? So they want to talk about the end of the age, and so he begins to give them teaching, and he talks about people coming to mislead them. You'll be hearing of wars, rumours of wars, seeing you're not frightened, for these things must take place, but that's not yet the end. Nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. In various places will be famines and earthquakes, but all these things are merely the beginning of birth pangs. So now he's talking about these things as beyond just physical things happening in the earth, but talking about it as birth pangs. The earth is going through the change, it's wanting. So now we're connecting it with bigger purposes and plans. And there'll be tribulation. They'll kill you and hate in my name. Many will fall away. Many false prophets. There'll be, so it's big picture. Lots of stuff happening. So even though it doesn't have all the symbolism of Ezekiel and stuff like that, it's got an overlap into the style of apocalyptic type teaching where we're doing this. And chapter 24 verse 15. Therefore, when you see the abomination and desolation which was spoken through Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place. So he's referring to apocalyptic teaching and saying, when you see these things, then you will know. And let those in Judea flee to the mountains. So it's sort of it's got an overlap here. It's not just pure prophetic. And if you just treat it as pure prophetic, you'll miss the things he's leaning into. He's leaning into the Daniel teachings. He's leaning into these other ones. So verse 27, okay. Just as the lightning comes from the east and flashes even to the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So that's, you can...
Wherever the corpses there, the vultures will gather.
Yeah, so that's more apocalyptic style. And then verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of these days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken.
Again,
and then the sun, that's very apocalyptic.
There's probably a lot of symbolism in that.
Yeah, and sky, sun, moon. Okay, so even in the New Testament, there's some writings there. Let me see if I can...
This is on the other page. The page at the back, if you're looking for the classic examples.
No, I'm looking in here. It's in another... It's another thing.
Oh, right.
I'll just read them out here. I'm sorry I don't have it.
We'll throw them in the comments.
So in Daniel, lots of apocalyptic. Chapter 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. In Revelation, obviously. In Isaiah, you've got some apocalyptic things. Chapters 2, 13, 24, 25, 26, 27, 34, 65, 66. So you can see there's in there. Joel, chapters 1, 2, and 3 contain apocalyptic teaching. Zephaniah, chapters 1 and 3. Zechariah, chapters 12, 13, and 14. Ezekiel, chapters 1, 7, 38, 39, 40 to 48. Jeremiah, 4, 25, 30, 30, 31, 32, 33, the chapters. There's Amos 5, Obadiah 15, Habakkuk 3, Micah 4, Nahum 1, Malachi 3, Malachi 4. Psalms 2, 18, 46, 75, 96, 97, 98, 99, 102, 110.
There's
all
a lot.
Yeah. Jesus, Matthew 24, 25, then the equivalent passage is Mark 13 and Luke 21. Jesus had some of his sayings had apocalyptic things, like the Son of Man's going to come in the cloud, the renewal of all things, the judgment of the parable, the weeds, the net, the things like that. Have a sort of apocalyptic feel. Chapter 7, the final judgment. Days of Noah and Luke 17, 12, and John 5, the resurrection and judgment. These are all sort of overlap. Paul spoke about apocalyptic style things, because we had, 1st, 2nd Thessalonians 4 and 5, 2nd Thessalonians chapters 1 and 2, 1 Corinthians 15, Romans 8, all talk about apocalyptic style. Hebrews 10, Hebrews 12, James 5, 1 Peter 4, 2 Peter 3, and Jude also contain apocalyptic. So it's not a style that is nowhere.
Yeah, you would have thought before it was dispersed, but it's like, it's everywhere.
Yeah, and often it's not so strong. It's like, Ezekiel was obvious. That's why I took it. It's a very, but with like Jesus with his teachings, there's a little bit here and a little bit there.
Yeah.
Because it was a familiar style to them. It was why they picked up on it and used it, and they would read it and understand it.
They would have understood it better than we did.
Yeah, because it's all there. All right. So you just when you I'm not suggesting you go and read all those passages. I'd like to sort of know that and have it all the back. What I'm saying is when you're reading passages, be aware. You say that's got a bit of an apocalyptic feel to it, doesn't it? All right. That's got a bit of a.
And when you say apocalyptic again. Not apocalypse, not end times. Apocalyptic, the unveiling. It's the revealing. It's a, it's
more symbolic. It's got more symbols and things, and it's. I feel as if I've been lifted a little bit above the normal prophetic or speaking to here, and it's now got a sort of a sense of the heavenly, and there's symbols, and when you see this, and when the lightning hits and the earthquakes, I'm looking at things that are the moon and the stars.
It says in the Bible somewhere, I think, where it's like there's things that God, like, no man can understand, like things that heaven, and like we can't on this earth, we will not understand everything about God. We're not you can't figure out heaven. I think that's the key as well. It's like we want to approach this. You have to approach this earnestly, and you have to approach it with hunger, and approach it, smartly. Don't just read anything, as you said. Approach it. Okay, we always say the Bible is two things. Number one, it is a book.
Yeah.
So you do have to approach it like it's a book. These things are still writings, and it is still a book. Number two, it is God breathed, and it is God's word in it. So you can't just approach it from a not educational. What's the word I'm looking for?
Intellectual.
From an intellectual standpoint, isn't it? You can't just approach this stuff intellectually because heaven is not something for us to figure out here on earth. We're
Yeah.
not trying to decode heaven, and we're not trying to understand all of heaven. We can't. Like, our human brain says, we're not going to figure that out here on earth. So there are things that God does give us to understand, and there's things that the prophets, God didn't intend people to hear the prophecies and be like, oh, wonder what that could mean. He's like, no, return to the covenant.
Yeah.
You know, God didn't want people to hear the prophecies and be like, I wonder what that could ever mean. Oh, we'll never understand here on earth what they're talking about. No. Return to the covenant. Return to... When God gave a prophecy, it's not for us to be like, I wonder what that could mean. He's like, no. There's a good thing for you to sort of get out of that one. But in that way, we can't approach the apocalyptic or the unveiling. The unveiling is more like, I feel like I want to see it as a gift. It's like God being like, know what? It's like, do you want to be let in on a little secret?
Yeah.
You know, don't want me to let you in on a little secret. Like, you're not going to fully understand this, but come and just enjoy seeing this for a sec. You're not going to understand it right now. You're not going to know what it all means. Like, come in and just come in and see what I've seen for a minute. And it's like that. It's almost like a gift He gives us just to enjoy and sit in that wonder of, you know, and like, yes, there are parts for us to understand. I'm not saying all of Revelation is not to be understood. There's parts which He wants us to figure out and, you know, take from. But I think if you don't see it as something to decipher, but see it as a gift just to enjoy.
I think God wants us to see the themes.
Exactly.
He wants to see what He's trying to
exactly.
say. There is a message there to get. And I think the see it as a book is seeing it as apocalyptic.
Yep.
All right. Helps me to say, okay, well, slow down a little bit. Let's not apply my approach to other things here, because it will not fit, and it'll make this read weird or get bad interpretations.
Yeah.
So first of all, I bring myself to understanding more apocalyptic. So as part of that, and we'll cover this next week, there's symbolism. There's things that are over, you know, for instance, we'll talk about what it means. Beasts often represent things. Horns represent, you know, like horns represent things. You know, the sun, the moon, the stars, they represent things.
Yeah.
And so if we understand some of those basics, sometimes that helps.
Yeah.
Also, numbers are very symbolic and represent things. So the number 1, the number 3, the number 4, the number 7, the number 10, the number 12, the number 40, the number 3.5. 3.5 is a big one in Daniel and Revelation.
Half of 7.
Well, yeah, and it's 12, you know, but often it's represented as 1,260 days. Because 1,260 days is 3.5 years. So when they prophesied for 1,260 days, it's a reason for that. 42 months is half of 7 years.
Yeah.
So when it says that they did time, times, and half a time.
Yeah.
Time is 1 year, times is 2 years, and half a time is 3.5. So when it says time, times, and half a time, it's a fancy way of saying 3.5. Okay, why 3.5? And you sort of number 6 has meanings. Therefore, 666 is like that on steroids. The number 1,000, number 24, the number. So all those things, they all got. I'm not going to go through them now, but we'll just work. If you understand some of those things, that's not like code breaking.
No,
because that's what they understood.
Yeah,
exactly. That was common knowledge to them.
Yeah.
That's what when they heard those numbers, when they heard 3.5. They knew what it meant. Yeah. Okay, I didn't fully understand what it meant. I knew it was half of 7, but I didn't understand why it was significant. And it's like, that's why. So that's why that number's, you know. And
if you want,
do you want to have one? We'll do one funny one.
And can I? Oh,
yeah, one last thing, and then you say go. And then I'll say this.
There's a song I really like at the moment. It's like this is sort of like 1 minute, 1.5 minute song on a Christian artist, Ben William Hastings. He's was from Hillsong United now, does his own stuff. And he released a song, this is like 2-minute song called Set Me on Fire. And that song is like, he's a poet. Like, he's got that sort of vibe to him. And he's one who wrote songs like So Will I, Highlands, a lot of those sort of very poetic songs. Hard Fought Hallelujah, stuff like that was his. And like the lyric at the start is like, it's like talking about, the concept is, you know, again, themes. The theme of the song is like asking God to like set him on fire and like, you know, restart that fire and that hunger in his heart sort of thing. And like the first verse is the first line is, a North Face couldn't warm me up. Like a North Face, like because North Face make those like the big puffer jackets. Yeah. He's Irish. So like a North Face couldn't warm me up. It's like I'm feeling somewhat in a rut. I've been driving on the fuel light for a week. It's like you're like coffee in a solo cup. The vessel isn't strong enough. And it's like try explaining that to someone 50 years ago what these lyrics mean. But again. when I read a north face couldn't warm me up, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
But to them, it would have been like, what is a north face sort of thing. But to me, it makes it north face the puffer jackets, and they're known for making. But like, it's a very, very symbolic way of saying, instead of saying my soul is cold, not my body, it's a north face couldn't warm me up. Is a very symbolic way of saying that,
Yeah.
So it gave me that sort of vibe.
So numbers, they understood when they heard a number, they heard what it represented, not just what it was.
Yeah.
So he said, he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, showed me the holy city Jerusalem coming down out of heaven, and brilliance was like a very costly stone, a stone of crystal clear jasper, great and high wall, 12 gates. The gates, 12 angels, and the names written on them with those of the 12 tribes. And there were 3 gates in the east, and on the wall had 12 foundation stones, 12 names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And the one who spoke with me had a gold measuring rod to measure the city, its gates and walls. And the city is laid out as a square, and its length is as great as the width. And he measured the city with the rod 1,500 miles. Its length and width and height are equal. And he measured its walls 72 yards according to human measurements, which are also angelic measurements. So they said, now, all those make sense except 1,500 and 72.
Yeah.
None of those ones were like, where did that come from? What's the significance of 1,500? Now, the clue there is 1,500 miles. Miles is not an ancient measurement.
That's a modern measurement.
That's a modern measurement.
So that's been translated.
That's been translated. All right, so let's have measuring rod at 1,400 miles.
1,500. Even the fact that they're different makes me think this is not a...
Okay, Holman. He measured the city with the rod at 12,000 stadia.
And 12 was a very...
12 and 1,000, very symbolic.
Yeah.
All right, so the 15... Okay, the fact that it says 1,500 gives me an appreciation how the distance.
Yeah.
Well, 12,000 stadia means nothing.
But it gives me the...
But considering Revelation is highly symbolic, to lose the 12,000...
is pretty important.
Yeah, it's a...
Yeah.
And so the next verse, 144 cubits, not 72 yards, 144 cubits, because a cubit is half a yard. All right?
Okay.
144, 12 times 12. That's 144 tribes,
I need to read my math book next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll let you do the math.
here you go. These numbers represent something more than just actual distances. All the best to the translators who are going to try and manage that fact that it's symbolic,
Have to make a choice there.
but it's representing actual real distances or real numbers. How do I convey that without having to add a little...
What did the Amplified do?
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
Did they put them both in? I'm interested.
Let's have a look at the Amplifier.
The Amplified's like 7 paragraphs long for them.
Oh, okay. The city,
they did what I thought.
and he measured the city, which is, with his read, 12,000 stadia, about 1,500 miles.
Or 144 cubits, about 72
72
yards
yards.
by a man's measure.
Okay, I give kudos to the Amplified.
I think this is one where the Amplified has done the right thing.
Yeah, you're adding to the word, and there's a direct thing at the very end of Revelation that says if you add to the word, you're cursed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, ah! But I think by putting that in...
Because I thought they've just done both there, basically.
Yeah. So I'm like, I've got to give you an idea what it means, because stadia and cubits are not going to mean anything. But if I take it away from stadia and cubits...
We lose the symbolism.
So let's have a look at the Message Bible. Let's see what someone tries to do if they are trying to make it readable. I laid in perfect square, measured the city with a measuring stick, 12,000 stadia, its length, width and height are all equal.
So it went for the symbolism.
Yeah, 12,000 stadia, 1,400 miles in New Living. Yeah, so the measuring, they said, well...
Revelation would have been a very it would have been a very challenging book to translate.
Yeah, so there's an... So we're going to look at... the reason we need those numbers is if you're going to understand apocalyptic writing, the numbers, you got to. That's just a starting point, because so many times he's referring to these numbers, and if you've got no understanding of what they represent, it just becomes confusing. Whereas often it's like, I'm trying to tell you something through these numbers, not a secret code, because they were well understood.
Yeah.
It's because you want to get into the head of the person. So when I hear about horns and I hear about eyes and when I hear about this, I just want to see it through the eyes of as their understanding.
Yeah.
That gives me the clue. I also, next week we'll get into, hopefully, the one of the big things. It's just really, sometimes we've got to work through these things so we can get to the really exciting stuff. Yeah. Babylon the whore is in this is the key to why the churches were told about this, and eventually they see Babylon the whore. This is how it all ties together to what they're facing. Was Babylon Rome? Was it talking about? A lot of people say, the Bible, it was actually Rome. They couldn't use the name Rome because they would be killed by speaking against Rome. But by using the code word Babylon, the Romans wouldn't know. If someone stole this writing, they hear about Babylon. They don't think. But the Roman centurion doesn't know when he's reading it. I was reading about Rome, and I'm not talking about Caesar, Nero. I'm using code. So a lot of people think they were actually all this was being addressed to their current Rome, and there are codes there, and it was like that. So we'll talk about that. And my answer, yes and no. It's bigger and better than that. All right. It's So
I'm excited for that.
Okay. So
how good has this been?
That's been so good.
This is going to be really fun.
I really appreciate, even in the ways that that we've learnt, through Pastor, with how John does it, the corkscrew, where it's like if we approach this in the Western mindset and it's like going up the steps. If you go up the step behind you is now I don't think about that step because I'm not on that step, and that would be the wrong way to approach this. But we do this with the corkscrew. We are actually progressing. Exactly. But we're going up and around.
And we're getting all of it at once.
And we're getting all of it, you're taking it with you as opposed to learning something and then just that's now knowledge or whatever. And and it's and that's where we do it with the Holy Spirit, and He reveals it to us.
I think the corkscrew is a more fitting example of what the life of faith is as well. The life of faith isn't, well, I'm done with that, now it's on to my next thing. Life of faith it's a corkscrew, not in terms of going back and forth with
building on layers.
It's building on layers, and it's like, God will reveal this, and we go over here, and then He's revealing back here, but at a new level, and then we're back over here, and there's so many things. So I'm like, God has revealed this verse, and then how many times we anyone who's read the Bible or been a Christian for a while, you might have experienced this where it's like, you read a chapter of the Bible and you love it, and it's amazing, or you study a concept in the Bible and it's amazing. Yeah. Then you study other stuff and you come back 2 years later and study the same thing and find 10 times more, but that's the corkscrew coming back at a higher level after continuing through. And that's what I think. I think that's one of the reasons Jesus liked John's teaching. Is probably better representation of how Jesus sees the walk of faith, and the journey of faith. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but I'm saying I think it better represents it than the Western mindset of step on step on
Absolutely,
step. The building block.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I think if there's anything we've learned today, it's approach it as the corkscrew, and don't approach it as a code to decipher, but as themes God wants to reveal to us. He's not trying to reveal to us intimate details. It's the themes and the symbolism, and embrace the symbolism, embrace the themes, embrace the part of not trying to go in to decipher, but going in to be shown and revealed to.
And if you want some homework, go back and read some of the, Ezekiel, some of the passages I showed, or Daniel. Just read the book of Daniel, because there's quite chapter 7 on. And what the reason is, you say, okay, I'm just reading some apocalyptic teaching, and so when I come to Revelation, it's not like this is weird. No, this is actually understood. This is what they would be familiar with, and you'll find a lot of symbols in there are repeated in Revelation. So it's like, there's an overlap with Daniel talking a lot about the 3.5 and the 7s, and Ezekiel was talking about the 4 creatures and the things like that. So you'll actually find, these things, if I'm familiar with them. So again, it means that you're putting yourself into the heart and mind of the people that were receiving it, because those 7 churches that were receiving this is part of what they also would have understood. Okay,
that's cool. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. I've had a great time.
That's so good.
Be here tomorrow night if you are in the Melbourne area, or you're in the eastern Melbourne area, and you would like to come along, we've got a prayer service, not even a prayer service, a worship service.
A revelation service.
Yeah, it's just a night of just stepping into the throne room of God, as we said. Worship, if there's one thing we do, one theme that does come through really strongly in particularly the first few chapters of Revelation, is that the throne room of God and the presence of God, it is filled with worship, and worship is at the heartbeat of the Father. And we're just going to lean into worship. We're just going to have a stripped back worship night with a couple of our band leading it. It's going to be really fun. Come in person if you can be here. 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Early night, Saturday night, Sunday morning, 10 a.m. for our regular service, online or in person. Next Friday, join us again for Academy. But on behalf of myself, Josh, Pastor Pete, and the team here, thank you so much for joining us. It has been such an honor. We love getting to do this, and we'll see you guys next Friday or before then.
Okay, bless you.
Bye for now.